गुरुवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदालय कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः. First of all, offer my millions of obeisances to lotus feet of Asmadi Guru Pad Padma, Nitila Prashta Jagat Guru Shishwan Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Tirandi Swami Shishwan Bhaktivedanta Dandi Maharaj, Namnishta Santa Shri Aniruddhas Prabhuji, all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, please accept my humble obeisances. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, The Cause of All Causes, verse 11. Yena swarojisha vishvam rojitam rochayamyaham yatharko agnir yatha somo yatharkshah grihataraka. Yena, by whom, swarojisha, by his own effulgence, vishvam, all the worlds, rochitam, already created, potentially, rochayami, do manifest, aham, I, yatha, as much, arkah, the sun, agni, fire, yatha, as, somaha, the moon, yatha, as also, ruksha, the firmament, graha, the influential planets, taraka, the stars. I create after the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence known as Brahma Jyotir. Just as when the sun manifests its fire, the moon, the firmament, the influential planets and the twinkling stars also manifest their brightness. Lord Brahmaji said to Narad that his impression that Brahma was not the supreme authority in the creation was correct. Sometimes less intelligent men have the foolish impression that Brahma is the cause of all causes. But Narad wanted to clear the matter by the statements of Brahmaji, the supreme authority in the universe. As the decision of the Supreme Court of a state is final, similarly the judgment of Brahmaji, the supreme authority in the universe, is final in the Vedic process of acquiring knowledge. As we have already affirmed in the previous verse, Naradji was a liberated soul, therefore he was not one of the less intelligent men who accept a false god or gods in their own ways. He represented himself as less intelligent and yet intelligently presented a doubt to be cleared by the supreme authority so that the uninformed might take note of it and be rightly informed about the intricacies of the creation and the creator. In this verse, Brahmaji clears up the wrong impression held by the less intelligent and affirms that he creates the universal variegatedness after the potential creation by the glaring effulgence of Lord Sri Krishna. Brahmaji has also separately given his statements in the Samhita known as the Brahma Samhita 5.40, where he says, Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti kotishvashesha vasudadi vibhuti binnam tad brahmanishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. I serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental bodily effulgence, known as the Brahma Jyoti, which is unlimited, unfathomed, and all-pervasive, is the cause of the creation of unlimited numbers of planets, etc., with varieties of climates and specific conditions of life. The same statement in the Bhagavad Gita is in the Bhagavad Gita 14.27. Lord Krishna is the background of the Brahma Jyoti. Brahmano hi pratisthaham. In the Nirukti or Vedic dictionary, the import of pratishtha is mentioned as that which establishes. So the Brahma Jyoti is not independent or self-sufficient. Lord Shri Krishna is ultimately the creator of the Brahma Jyoti, mentioned in this verse as Swarochisha, or the effulgence of the transcendental body of the Lord. This Brahma Jyoti is all-pervading and all creation is made possible by its potential power. Therefore, the Vedic hymns declare that everything that exists is being sustained by the Brahma Jyoti, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Therefore, the potential seed of all creation is the Brahma Jyoti. And the same Brahma Jyoti, unlimited and unfathomed, is established by the Lord. Therefore, the Lord, Shri Krishna, is ultimately the supreme cause of all creation. Aham sarvasya prabhava mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. One should not expect the Lord to create like a blacksmith with a hammer and other instruments. The Lord creates by His potencies. He has His multifarious potencies. Parasya Shakti Videva Shruyate, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 13.165 purport. Just as the small seed of a banyan fruit has the potency to create a big banyan tree, the Lord disseminates all varieties of seeds by His potential Brahma Jyoti, Swarochisha, and the seeds are made to develop by the watering process of persons like Brahma. Brahma cannot create the seeds, but he can manifest the seed into a tree. Just as a gardener helps plants and orchards to grow by the watering process. The example cited here of the sun is very appropriate. In the material world, the sun is the cause of all illumination, fire, electricity, the rays of the moon, etc. All luminaries in the sky are creations of the sun. The sun is the creation of the Brahma Jyoti, and the Brahma Jyoti is the effulgence of the Lord. Thus, the ultimate cause of creation is the Lord. Text 12. Tasmai namo bhagavate vasudevaya dhimai anmaya durjaya mam vadanti jagadgurum. Tasmai, unto him, namaha, offer my obeisances, bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead, vasudevaya, unto Lord Krishna, dhimai, do meditate upon him, yat, by whose mayaya potencies, durjaya, invincible, mam, unto me, vadanti, they say, jagat, the world, gurum, the master. I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna, Vasudev, the personality of Godhead, whose invincible potency influences them, the less intelligent class of men, to call me the Supreme Controller, as will be more clearly explained in the next verse. The illusory potency of the Lord bewilders the less intelligent to accept Brahmaji, or for that matter any other person, as the Supreme Lord. Brahmaji, however, refuses to be called this, and he directly offers his respectful obeisances unto Lord Vasudev, or Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, as he has already offered the same respects to him in the Brahma Samhita 5.1, Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. The Supreme Lord is the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, the primeval Lord in his transcendental body, the ultimate cause of all causes. I worship that primeval Lord Govinda. Brahmaji is conscious of his actual position, and he knows how less intelligent persons, bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord, whimsically accept anyone and everyone as God. A responsible personality like Brahmaji refuses to be addressed as the Supreme Lord by his disciples or subordinates, but foolish persons, praised by men of the nature of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, feel flattered to be addressed as the Supreme Lord. Why such persons take pleasure in being addressed as God, or why such persons are addressed as God by foolish admirers, is explained in the following verse. Text 13. Vilajyamanaya yasya sthatum ikshapathe amuya vimohita vi kathante mamahamiti durdhiya. Vilajyamanaya, by one who is ashamed, yasya, whose sthatum, to stay, ikshapathe, in front, amuya, by the bewildering energy, vimohita, those who are bewildered, vikathante, talk nonsense, mama, it is mine, aham, I am everything, iti, thus, vituperating, durdhiya, thus ill-conceived. The illusory energy of the Lord cannot take precedence, being ashamed of her position, but those who are bewildered by her always talk nonsense, being absorbed in thoughts of it is I and it is mine. The invincibly powerful deluding energy of the personality of Godhead, or the third energy representing nations, can bewilder the entire world of animation, but still she is not strong enough to be able to stand in front of the Supreme Lord. Nations is behind the personality of Godhead, where she is powerful enough to mislead the living beings, and the primary symptom of bewildered persons is that they talk nonsense. Nonsensical talks are not supported by the principles of Vedic literatures, and first grade nonsense talk is, it is I, it is mine. A godless civilization is exclusively conducted by such false ideas, and such persons without any factual realization of God, accept a false God or falsely declare themselves to be God to mislead persons who are already bewildered by the deluding energy. Those who are before the Lord, however, and who surrender unto Him cannot be influenced by the deluding energy. Therefore, they are free from the misconception of it is I, it is mine, and therefore they do not accept a false God or pose themselves as equal to the Supreme Lord. Identification of the bewildered person is distinctly given in this verse. Text 14. Dravyam karma cha kalascha svabhava jivaiva cha vasudevat paro brahmanna chanyo arthosti tatvataha. Text 14. Dravyam, the ingredients, earth, water, fire, air and sky. Karma, the interaction. Cha and kalaha, eternal time. Cha also, svabhavaha, intuition or nature. Jivaha, the living being. Eva, certainly. Cha and Vasudevat, from Vasudev. Paraha, differentiated parts. Brahman, O Brahman. Na, never. Cha, also. Anyaha, separate. Artha, value. Asti, there is. Tatvata, in truth. The five elementary ingredients of creation, the interaction thereof set up by eternal time, and the intuition or nature of the individual living beings are all differentiated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead Vasudev, and in truth there is no other value in them. Purport. This phenomenal world is impersonally the representation of Vasudev because the ingredients of its creation, their interaction, and the enjoyer of the resultant action, the living being, are all produced by the external and internal energies of Lord Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.4 and 5. Bhumirapo nalo vayu khammano buddhireva cha ahankari tyamye bhinna prakriti ashtatha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and false ego. All together these eight constitute my separated material energies. अपरयमितस्तमन्यां प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे परां जीवभूतां महाभाव येदम धार्यते jagat. Besides these, O mighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. The ingredients, namely earth, water, fire, air and sky, as well as the conception of material identity, intelligence and the mind are produced of the external energy of the Lord. The living entity who enjoys the interaction of the above gross and subtle ingredients as set up by eternal time is an offshoot of internal energy, is an offshoot of internal potency, with freedom to remain either in the material world or in the spiritual world. In the material world, the living entity is enticed by deluding nations, but in the spiritual world, he is in the normal condition of spiritual existence without any delusion. The living entity is known as the marginal potency of the Lord, but in all circumstances neither the material ingredients nor the spiritual parts and parcels are independent of the personality of Godhead Vasudeva. For all things, whether products of the external, internal or marginal potencies of the Lord, are simply displays of the same effulgence of the Lord. Just as light, heat and smoke are displays of fire, none of them are separate from the fire. All of them combine together to be called fire. Similarly, all phenomenal manifestations, as well as the effulgence of the body of Vasudeva, are his impersonal features, whereas he eternally exists in his transcendental form known as called Sachidananda Vigraha, Brahma Samhita 5.1, distinct from all conceptions of the material ingredients mentioned above. Text 15. Narayana Paraveda Narayana Deva Narayanangajaha Narayana Paraloka Narayana Paramakha Narayana Paraveda Deva Narayanangajaha Narayana Paraloka Narayana Paramakha. Narayan, the Supreme Lord, Paraha, is the cause and is meant for Vedaha, knowledge, Devaha, the demigods, Narayana, the Supreme Lord, Angajaha, assisting hands, Narayana, the personality of Godhead, Paraha, for the sake of Lokaha, the planets, Narayana, the Supreme Lord, Paraha, just to please him, Makha, all sacrifices. The Vedic literatures are made by and are meant for the Supreme Lord. The demigods are also meant for serving the Lord as parts of his body. The different planets are also meant for the sake of the Lord, and different sacrifices are performed just to please him. According to the Vedanta Sutras, Shastra Yonitvat, the Supreme Lord is the author of all revealed scriptures, and all revealed scriptures are for knowing the Supreme Lord. Veda means knowledge that leads to the Lord. The Vedas are made just to revive the forgotten consciousness of the conditioned souls, and any literature not meant for reviving God consciousness is rejected at once by the Narayan Para devotees. Such deluding books of knowledge, not having Narayan as their aim, are not at all knowledge but are the playgrounds for crows who are interested in the rejected refuse of the world. Any book of the knowledge, science or art must lead to the knowledge of Narayan, otherwise it must be rejected. That is the way of advancement of knowledge. The supreme worshipable deity is Narayan. The demigods are recommended secondarily for worship in relation to Narayan because the demigods are assisting hands in the management of the universal affairs. As the officers of a kingdom are respected due to their relation to the king, the demigods are worshipped due to their relation to the Lord. Without the Lord's relation, worship of the demigods is unauthorized avidipurvakam, just as it is improper to water the leaves and branches of a tree without watering its root. Therefore, the demigods are also dependent on Narayan. The lokas or different planets are attractive because they have different varieties of life and bliss, partially representing the Satchid Ananda Vigraha, Brahma Samhita 5.1. Everyone wants the eternal life of bliss and knowledge. In the material world, such an eternal life of bliss and knowledge is progressively realized in the upper planets. But after reaching there, one is inclined to achieve further progress along the path back to Godhead. Duration of life with a proportionate quantity of bliss and knowledge may be increased from one planet to another. One can increase the duration of life to thousands and hundreds of thousands of years in different planets, but nowhere is there eternal life. But one who can reach the highest planet, that of Brahma, can aspire to reach the planets in the spiritual sky, where life is eternal. Therefore, the progressive journey from one planet to another culminates in reaching the supreme planet of the Lord, Madhama, where life is eternal and full of bliss and knowledge. All different kinds of sacrifice are performed just to satisfy Lord Narayan with a view to reach him. And the best sacrifice recommended in this age of Kali is Sankirtanigya, the mainstay of the devotional service of a Narayan Para devotees. Text 16. Narayana paro yogo, Narayana param tapaha, Narayana param jnanam, Narayana paragati. Narayana paraha, just to know Narayan. Yoga, concentration of mind. Narayana param, just with an aim to achieve Narayan. Tapaha, austerity. Narayana param, just to realize a glimpse of Narayan. Jnanam, the culture of transcendental knowledge. Narayana Para, the path of salvation, ends by entering the kingdom of Narayan. Gati, progressive path. All different types of meditation or mysticism are meant for realizing Narayan. All austerities are aimed at achieving Narayan. Culture of transcendental knowledge is for getting a glimpse of Narayan, and ultimate salvation is entering the kingdom of Narayan. In meditation, there are two systems of yoga, namely Ashtanga Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is practiced in concentrating the mind, releasing oneself from all engagements by the regulative process of meditation, concentration, sitting posture, blocking the movements of the internal circulation of air, etc. Sankhya Yoga is meant to distinguish the truth from ephemerals, but ultimately both the systems are meant for realizing the impersonal Brahma, which is but a partial representation of Narayan, the personality of Godhead. As we have explained before, the impersonal Brahman effulgently is but as we have explained before, the impersonal Brahman effulgence is only a part of the personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahma is situated on the person of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such Brahman is the glorification of the personality of the Godhead. This is confirmed both in the Bhagavad Gita and the Matsya Purana. Gati refers to the ultimate destination or the last word in liberation. Oneness with the impersonal Brahma Jyoti is not ultimate liberation. Superior to that is the sublime association of the personality of Godhead in one of the innumerable spiritual planets in the Vaikuntha sky. Therefore, the conclusion is that Narayan or the personality of Godhead is the ultimate destination for all kinds of yoga systems as well as all kinds of liberation. Text 17. Tasyapi drashturishasya कूटस्थस्याखिलात्मनः सृज्यं सृजामि सृष्टोऽहं मिक्षैवा विचोदितः. Tasya, his api, certainly, drashtuhu of the seer, ishasya of the controller, kutasthasya of the one who is over everyone's intelligence, akhila atmanaha of the super soul, sujjam, that which is already created, sujami, do I discover, srishtaha, created, aham, myself, ikshaya, by glance over, eva, exactly, abhichoditaha, being inspired by him. Inspired by him only I discover what is already created by him, Narayan, under his vision as the all-pervading super soul, and I also am created by him only. Purport. Even Brahma, the creator of the universe, admits that he is not the actual creator but is simply inspired by the Lord Narayan and therefore creates under his superintendence whose things already created by him. Those things already created by him, the super soul of all living entities. Two identities of the soul, the super soul and the individual soul, are admitted to be in the living entity, even by the greatest authority of the universe. The super soul is the supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, whereas individual soul is the eternal servitor of the Lord. The Lord inspires the individual soul to create what is already created by the Lord, and by the goodwill of the Lord, a discoverer of something in the world is accredited as the discoverer. It is said in that Columbus discovered the Western Hemisphere, but actually the tract of land was not created by Columbus. The vast tract of land was already there by the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord, and Columbus, by dint of his past service unto the Lord, was blessed with the credit of discovering America. Similarly, no one can create anything without the sanction of the Lord, since everyone sees according to his ability. This ability is also awarded by the Lord according to one's willingness to render service unto the Lord. One must therefore be voluntarily willing to render service unto the Lord, and thus the Lord will empower the doer in proportion to his surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Lord Brahma is a great devotee of the Lord, and therefore he has been empowered or inspired by the Lord to create such universe as the one manifested before us. The Lord also inspired Arjuna to fight in the field of Kurukshetra as follows. Tasmat tvam uttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsha rajyam samruddham mayi vete nihata purvameva nimitta matram bhavyasavyasachi. The battle of Kurukshetra or any other battle at any place or at any time is made by the will of the Lord, for no one can arrange such mass annihilation without the sanction of the Lord. The party of Duryodhana insulted Draupadi, a great devotee of Krishna, and she appealed to the Lord as well as to all the silent observers of this unwarranted insult. Arjuna was then advised by the Lord to fight and take credit, otherwise the party of Duryodhana would be killed anyway by the will of the Lord. So Arjuna was advised just to become the agent and take the credit for killing great generals like Bhishma and Karna. In the Vedic writings such as the Kathopanishad, the Lord is described as the Sarva Bhuta Antaratma, or the personality of Godhead who resides in everyone's body and who directs everything for one who is a soul surrendered unto him. Those who are not surrendered souls are put under the care of the material nature. Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. Bhagavad Gita 18.61. Therefore, they are allowed to do things on their own account and suffer the consequences themselves. Devotees like Brahma and Arjuna do not do anything on their own account, but as fully surrendered souls, they always await indications from the Lord. Therefore, they attempt to do something which appears very wonderful to ordinary vision. One of the Lord's names is Urukram. or one whose actions are very wonderful and are beyond the imagination of the living being. So the actions of his devotees sometimes appear very wonderful due to the direction of the Lord. Beginning from Brahma, the topmost intelligent living entity within the universe, down to the smallest ant, every living entity's intelligence is overseen by the Lord in his transcendental position as the witness of all actions. The subtle presence of the Lord is felt by the intelligent man who can study the psychic effects of thinking, feeling, and willing. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhueva cha paritanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaः.